Well, hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Compass, where travelers and the paranormal meet at the crossroads. I am your host, Eric Garcia, and today we are joined by two fearless sisters from the UK who are changing the way we see ghost hunting, Emily and Ellie, better known as the two ghost girls. Now, Emily and Ellie grew up in a haunted home where they had witnessed shadow figures moving about and unexplained events that even their family couldn't deny. These early encounters sparked a lifelong passion for paranormal investigation, although they're the first to admit they remain skeptical, because let's face it, not every haunting is the real deal. On their YouTube channel and social media, they take followers on ghost hunting adventures, documenting real investigations where anything, and sometimes nothing, can happen. Their honesty and humor, plus the occasional Toto time interruption by their dog, make their every episode unforgettable. They've explored some of the UK's most infamous locations, like the ancient Ram Inn, the 1,000-year-old site with a terrifying history of pagan rituals, medieval trials, hangings, and eerie legends of incubus and succubus hauntings, the original two for the price of one deal. And in the Lee Bay countryside, they caught something quite unsettling, the sound of footsteps rushing toward them, captured on two separate cameras. Now, let's see what's waiting on the other side with the two ghost girls. Ladies, welcome to the show.
That was really good. Yeah.
Thank
really
you.
Impressive.
Well, you impressed yourself by already being awesome. So, all right, so let's just jump right into it. You both grew up in a haunted home. Now, can you share something more memorable or chilling experiences throughout the time? And how did those early encounters shape your approach to investigating the paranormal today?
Okay, so there's so much that happened in the house.
Yeah, I mean, if we went into it, it would be like this one podcast would be like 2 hours long.
Okay.
Most memorable.
Yeah. Would you say the vase?
It was the vase. The vase was the most memorable because that was kind of poltergeisty. The only poltergeist.
Do you want to hear the story?
Sure.
Okay.
If it's poltergeisty, we have to hear it.
Okay. So it was probably when I was about 16, you were about 17. And I was in college. You were in college. We were at the same college. So I was at home. There was no one else home that day. And I was doing my makeup in the downstairs toilet. And it's really hard to describe it. The toilet was here. Then the staircase went on top of the toilet.
Okay.
And on top of that staircase was a window. And then on that window still was a vase.
Okay.
Yeah? Sorry. If I'm not explaining it very well.
No, yeah.
Okay, cool. So I was downstairs doing my makeup in the downstairs toilet. And I just heard like a boof, 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 boof. That was a really good and I like came out of the toilet and the vase was beside me and I was like,
why is that?
I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. But I picked it up, put it back in the windowsill, realised that the window was open, so I just closed the window and went downstairs, put it back, went downstairs, carried on doing my makeup at college. And then I about like, I don't know, 10 minutes later I heard boof, 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 boof. And I come out and the vase is there again. And I'm like, damn, that's weird.
Yeah.
So I pick it up, put it back, and I'm like, okay, I must have just like not put it down because it had like kind of a round bottom, but it was flat, but it was kind of round. So I thought maybe I just put it up on the windowsill, but I didn't put it straight. So I put it back, went back downstairs, carried on doing my makeup, heard it again, came out, the vase was there. Picked it up, put it back. I don't know what was going through my brain when I went and put it back. I must have been like in fight or flight.
Yeah.
I was ready to fight again. So I went up, put it back, and then left college because I was like, I'm getting out of the house and so put it out.
Yeah.
And then we were walking back from college, and you were
No, I got a phone call from you while I was at college, and you were having a panic attack, and you were like crying. Like, I've had to leave the house. I can't go back in the house. This thing's happened 3 times around.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. And so I said, when we were on our way home from college together, I was like, if we walk in now and the vase has fallen down again, then that's very odd. Now, what actually happened is we went through the door and the vase hadn't fallen off. It was placed
right at the top of the stairs.
just below the windowsill, like stood upright,
underneath the window.
underneath the windowsill.
Yeah.
And nobody had been in the house that day. We checked, we asked everyone, we were like, what is going on?
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah. And that was only one of quite a few very odd experiences. We had an experience where I was in the shower and a hand like pressed against the shower curtain.
That had to freak you out.
Yeah.
Ellie ran out to me, even though the door was locked. She ran out to me and she was like, "Why the hell did you?" Sorry, are we allowed to swear?
That's fine.
You can be there.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. She was like, "Why the hell did you do that?" And I was like, "What are you talking about, weirdo?"
Yeah.
And then she was like, "You just smacked the window, the shower curtain." And I was like, "Dude, how was I meant to do that? The door was locked."
It was literally. And there was, because of the steam, there was like a handprint as well.
Yeah. So when we went in there, the handprint was on the outside.
Yeah.
Of the shower
curtain. There was another time when
Wait, should we pause? Do you have any questions about it?
Yeah, sorry.
No, that was okay. So the vase falls off twice. You put it up a third time. It falls off again. You're like, I'm out of here. You call her. She comes back, and now the vase is sitting on the floor, nice as you can please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah. I'm out on it.
Wow.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was another time when we were in the kitchen with our mum.
Yeah, and we were all having dinner.
And
is this about the Kleenex?
Yeah.
I'm ready to hear about the Kleenex story. I do my research.
And we were all kind of, I don't know what drew our attention even to it.
Well, it was in the middle of the table and it started getting pulled out.
Yeah.
So like
the tissues like pulled themselves
and
out.
And we all just like held onto each other like.
But at this point we knew, I think we were all aware. Our mum's kind of in denial, I think.
Oh yeah, but
we were all aware that something was in that house. We also, more recently, I think, have kind of come to the conclusion that it was probably a like an omen,
bad omen,
like a bad negative spirit, because we also saw a lot of shadows, which shadow figures that we've never seen since leaving that house. So yeah, I remember just coming to you one day and being like, "Oh, can I talk to you about something?" And you were like, "Are you gonna ask me about the shadows?" And I was like, "What? What do you mean with shadows?" And yeah, it was. I had been seeing so many more of the shadows in like the corner of our vision, like going across the doorways, things like that. And you were like, "Yeah, they've been really bad today."
Yeah.
And we were quite old at that point. We weren't young enough for it to potentially be our imagination still. We were probably about 16, 17 at that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
you were wide awake when you saw the shadow figures.
Oh yeah.
They
throughout the whole day.
They
Yeah.
happen. Like when you would just like turn, you just see something like a figure in the corner of your eye, like a dark
entity.
Like
I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Like full size, like almost adult size.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, because the reason I ask is I'm not sure if you would classify them as shadow figures. And when I saw them, I was always at that moment where you're not fully awake, but you're partly asleep. You're like right in the middle, and my eyes are half open, and I would see them at the end of the bed, but they'd be little tiny figures about that big. Bunch of them jumping around doing gymnastics, like and the first time I see that, and I can nod it off, I'm like, okay, write it off as a dream or whatever. Yeah. But when it happens several times, and you're like, okay, but so far, knock wood, I haven't had any like negative encounters with him, and I try to, like, even when I go like I've seen you do, like go to these locations. I try to be respectful. You know, I don't make a Zach Bagans like scream my head off kind of thing out of it. But now, yeah, because that's why I had to ask. I'm like, okay, because when I saw them, if they could be classified as shadow figures, I was half asleep and they were very, very tiny. Like, you know, so
It's like those little marshmallows. You know the little marshmallows in Ghostbusters.
Oh
yeah. Picture those guys, but pitch black.
yeah. And yeah.
So when you're heading into a new location, what is your strategy? I mean, do you research it extensively beforehand,
No,
or do you prefer to kind of go in blind and let the location guide you?
We go in blind. We try not to do any like research or anything, because I think it when you leave and then you do research, it makes it even more like
real when
the things correlate.
Yeah.
So for us, we try not to. I don't know if it's just like actually really disorganized,
and that's an excuse.
Yeah. But yeah, we don't do it.
Yeah,
you may have better luck that way too.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Ellie, we get so many amazing results from the Estes method, and Ellie just gets the best, and I think we've decided that's because her clarity, like with her hearing, is better than everyone else that we ever go investigating with.
Yeah.
And if the things that you say correlate with the history once we've left, that's always so amazing. But I always find that if we did the research freehand, we wouldn't be able to trust that our subconscious didn't like impact what we've said or what we're doing in some way.
Yeah,
that's a very good point. And also, if you think about it, whenever, like, you see it all the time on these newer ghost hunting TV shows, you know, the ghost hunters will bring in a psychic, but they won't tell the psychic anything about the location. They'll just let them like feel what they feel. And that method goes back to like the old days of paranormal investigation, back to like the 60s and 70s. Hans Holzer, he would bring in a psychic, but he made it very clear he would not tell her a thing about the location. And it seems you do that on your own without even without bringing in one. But that reminds me, because Ellie, you mentioned in the email, I wasn't sure if you were joking, but you said, you know, because I was literally just about to email or message you on Instagram, like 30 seconds before you messaged me with what I was going to ask you about. I'm like, okay, and then you did it this morning.
Did I?
I woke up and I was just about to message you, like, hey, I'm going to, get everything ready. And then you messaged me. I'm like, because you made a joke about being psychic. Are you?
Yeah, I'm not psychic.
Okay.
That was a joke.
But I think that we do believe that we all have the power to, well, I believe anyway, I don't want to somehow, that we all have the power to tune into psychic behaviors. But I feel like the way that the world works at the moment and the way that we kind of lose touch with spirituality means that we kind of lose our ability to do that. However, if you train it, I think that there are ways that you can kind of
just become more spiritual. I think when you're born, you're at your most like spiritual, natural state. And I think we get lost in society and technology and everything. So
and I think
you can get back to that place where you're spiritual and reconnect with that. And I think with that comes it's benefit. Yeah. But I'm not finished. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because talking to psychics always make me nervous. It's like, do you know what I'm really thinking? Oh no.
Yeah. I know what you're thinking.
Across the pond. Oh no. Yeah, because I think as adults we have to work to remain open to that. As children, we don't think about it until we get older, and adults tell us, no, that stuff's not real. Except in my family, it's like, it was never, are ghosts real? It's more like, who are they? We were very open to that growing up. Yeah. And also, now that I think about it, it's probably enhanced with the two of you because you're sisters, because of that familial bond, because you probably have like kind of a shorthand when you talk to each other as it is already. And kind of like I have 5 sisters, and they're all older than me. But the youngest sister, the one born before I was born, her and I were around each other more often than the rest of them. So it's weird because I'll think of a question to ask her and she's already going to ask me, or vice versa, because we're around each other so much. And then you have,
like finish each other sentences, like we're just one.
Kind of like when, but
we don't finish each other's sentences, but we do ask a question before the other one has a chance, and we're like, stop doing that. It's annoying when you're brother and sister. It's annoying. So another question, and this one, I sometimes have like outside the box questions that are a little out there, but this one about your childhood home. So if you could go back in time and speak to your childhood selves in that haunted home, what advice would you give yourself about dealing with the paranormal? Dealing with it?
Yeah, that's a good one, actually.
I would say get out.
Move for this specific location because so many bad things happened around the period that we lived in that house as well.
Dealing with to this day.
Yeah. And I genuinely believe that had something to do with the spirit that was in the house.
100%. Yeah, 100%. There's too many correlations.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say?
I didn't know what I was going to say, but you said it. And then I was like, yeah, no, that is actually good advice.
And then, like, talking to a child, I'm like, Mum, we need to go. And she'd be like, nah.
You'll be like, look, trust me, move.
Yeah.
Now, sort of a 2 to 3 part question here. It's about technology. A lot of investigators use this high tech equipment, and you've captured some compelling evidence with a smartphone. Do you prefer simple tools over advanced tech?
Yes, I think that I don't know. I think that with phones, with like the apps that you can get on your phone, I don't know. There's something behind. I just feel like they're very gimmicky. Like they're and they're not always legit, and you can't always trust them.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think the more basic something is, the less. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Can you think about what? Like, there's less that.
Basically, keeping it simple is works.
Simple, I think.
But there's less to.
But like, for example, if you just sit there and you did a call out and you hear something like a bang, that's something that you can try and debunk. But if there's nothing that's there that could have made that sound, then that is legit.
Or even EVPs.
Yeah.
EVPs in our 30th Drive video that we've just done. We had this amazing EVP that we actually missed in the editing process. And it was just us walking up the stairs, and there's this like
kid's voice.
It sounds like a kid's voice, like sounds like that pretty much, yeah. And we ended up blowing up and amplifying it in the next video, but it's that kind of thing. It's like, where did that come from?
But what I was going to say is with the devices that we have, it's great when like that correlates with actual stuff that's happening, but with that singular thing, if you just have that one thing, like for example the REM pod goes off, there could be something that could definitely debunk that. But if that correlates with like EVP and these knocks that we're hearing and stuff like that, that backs up more evidence. And then if we then have an Estes method that correlates with the location and the history, then that kind of all comes together. But I think
them on their own, they don't work on the. Yeah, you're right. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just struggling with it.
Yeah.
The way you two talk at the same time reminds me of my sisters. It's just like it's like sitting down talking with them, especially like because with 5, if more than 2 of them are in the same room, it's like they all talk at the same time.
It's a lot.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And if you didn't grow up with them, you can't decipher what they're saying. So.
Basically, so the technology on their own, like the REM pod, the Estes method, or the S box, the EMF reader, anything like that, on their own, they could be debunked. However, if the REM pod and also the EMF goes off and also a cat ball goes off at the same time, and you're getting really concise results, or a knock happens, or you feel something in that area at the exact same time, then it's way more likely that that is a real, or not even necessarily, even being skeptical, it might not be paranormal, but there is more of a chance that it's paranormal than
if something goes off individually.
yeah, I see.
Got you. So on the opposite, as far as the flip side of that question, the opposite end of the spectrum. Now I've noticed you've used Ouija boards during your investigations. That is a tool that sparks debate even among the paranormal enthusiasts. I'm kind of on the fence about them myself. I've spoken about this before. Even though I own two of them, there's one over my left shoulder, the Stranger Things Ouija board.
Ooh.
I put that up there in your honor because I think you like Stranger Things. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put this up because they like Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, again, goes back to my sister. She knows they make me kind of nervous. So she's got me two of them. And they're both based off of TV shows I like. So it's like, that's how sisters torture you. But so on the subject of using, spirit board, Ouija board, whatever you want to call it, how do you approach using them responsibly?
Well, we actually stopped using them probably about a year ago now, not because we felt like what we were getting through was negative, because we would always close it, we would all properly, and we would do everything properly.
We would do a ritual beforehand.
And then also say goodbye and be like, you're not coming home with us. But we found that when we were doing it, the content that we were recording, we would just have like an hour of maybe us just sat there and nothing was happening. But then at the same time, a viewer could watch that and be like, they could be moving that, because how do they know that we're not moving it? That's not a legit, like, help me with my words. That's not a legit way of.
It doesn't feel like proper evidence. Because nothing
people can debunk it. They can say we're moving it very easily.
Right.
Although we know that that's not the case.
Yeah.
But we also know that there are, theories. And even when I've been in a scenario where we've been doing a Ouija board and it's been moving and it's really powerful, and we think that it's not us doing it.
It could still be us.
It could still be us doing it subconsciously.
Right. The ideomotor effect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah.
It like jolts a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're following it around.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't realise that you're doing it.
Yeah. Exactly. So I feel like even with the best intentions, you can't guarantee, even to be able to trust yourself, that isn't you doing it.
Yeah.
And especially in terms of it translating over, like, a video, our content, for instance, people would.
There's always that doubt, like, are they pushing it?
Exactly. If we don't even know ourselves, then how are the people at home supposed to trust?
Yeah, because in my family, like, growing up, we either always had a Ouija board or a deck of tarot cards in the house. It was either or. And when you're kids, we played around with it, and my actual first paranormal experience, I was about 8 or 9 years old, and it was with a Ouija board that I made out of a donut box. I drew all the markings on there, made a planchette, everything out of it. One of my other sisters and I were playing with it, and at one point I asked it, well, if we turn this over, can you hold the triangle to it and not let it drop? And it said yes. So we're like, okay. I picked it up and turned it over, and it held in place. Oh. Then we put it back down. We closed it out because we knew enough back then, thank God, to close it out. And then I picked it up, turned it over again, and it just fell down. And I made this out of the bottom of a box of donuts, donut box.
We've done very similar things when we were younger. We would like make makeshift Ouija boards.
Yeah.
And we would have such weird experiences. Weirder than we've had with an actual Ouija board.
Yeah, and as I got older and thought back on that more, I mean, it goes into the power of symbols, and the belief you have in these symbols. It's a little eerie, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned what kind of what kind of precautions did you take when it came? I mean, you said you did a ritual beforehand and you did one after.
Yeah. So we would I would kind of sit everyone down, and this is only because I am quite spiritual and I'm into meditation and like energies and things like that. So I would sit everyone down and we'd all hold hands, and I would be like, okay, we need to make sure that we're protecting ourselves with a positive energy. We're covered by a white light, yeah. And I would kind of just say some kind of, we're welcoming all the spirits in, all the different energies in, negative, positive, but you're not allowed to attach yourself and things like that. So just kind of preempting that we weren't going to allow ourselves to be victim to an attachment or something negative.
So you're setting boundaries from the get-go.
Yeah, yeah. And making sure that we open the board correctly, closing the board correctly. Obviously, we're not taking our hand off the board or the planchette, sorry, and making sure that when we still do it even now, not even with just a Ouija board, when we're just leaving the location.
Yeah, we say you're not coming home.
You're not allowed to come home with us. We really appreciate that you've spoken to us. And
so you're staying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You live here.
Yeah.
We live there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There is a movie. It's like one of my favorite movies as far as like horror movies go, and it came out in the '80s, and it's called Witchboard. Have you ever seen it?
No.
Oh, you want to look at, because they made like a couple of sequels to it that aren't too good, but the original with her name is Tawny Kitaen. She's used to be married to the rock singer Whitesnake from Whitesnake, the '80s band.
Oh.
But if you just look up, and it's available on YouTube, the full movie. And that movie, I was like 16 or 17 the first time I saw it, and that pretty much set in my mind, okay, if I touch a Ouija board, that's what's going to happen. You know, it's so well made, and the way it's just the dialogue, the storyline, the pacing, everything about this movie is so well made. It has its own kind of like cult following. And Witchboard. Yeah, you can find it. I think it's like 1986, 1987. Just type in Witchboard 1986 or 87 and on YouTube, and it's got the full movie there. And you'll be like, yep, that could happen. And I've played it. I've even told people like, okay, yes, it's a movie. Yes, it's Hollywood, but that's why you don't use the Ouija board, because basically this kind of stuff could happen, you know, minus special effects. Yeah, exactly. Cautionary tale. That's what we need to call it. Witch board, a cautionary tale. So now that's great that you take precautions of like, okay, you can't follow us home, but have you ever unintentionally invited the spirit, you know, without realizing it? And what have you done at that point? I mean, do you think anything has ever followed you home?
You do. From so prior to us having a YouTube and in kind of the interim before we started paranormal investigating and starting the YouTube, we used to go on like those paid ghost hunts, you know, where you go and you pay, and you pay a certain
ghost tours.
There was a Ouija board there that a group of us did, but they called it an angel board. Now knowing that that's not, like, it might be a thing, but it's basically a Ouija.
It's just it was literally a Ouija.
It was So me and Emily, there was probably 4 other people doing this Ouija board, and they were complete strangers. And this like board started out like it came through as one of the people's mums who had passed away, but for some reason this mum only wanted to speak to me about my life and not speak to her son for some reason. What was odd. And and it was saying things that not even you knew about me.
No.
And
things like
and I had just moved house and you'd never been to my house before. But there was loads of things that it was saying about me, and also telling me things that was happening about like my boyfriend at the time. That was really odd. I'm not going to go into details about that. But and this was coming through like out on a Ouija board with a bunch of strangers, and I was like, how does that know that? Like,
and you freaked out so much.
I took my hand.
Yeah, you took your hand off,
and like I probably for about a year after doing that Ouija board, I had like this black thing that just like followed me around, almost like depression,
like a heaviness.
Like I was really depressed. It was after that happened. I was anxious. I was depressed. It almost was like there was just like this dark cloud over me, like following me around.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was probably about a year before something, like I don't know what happened, but
something happened.
Something happened, and I managed to shift it, but I do think that was something, and I think that it was a bad spirit who was trying to disguise itself as someone's mum, and it wasn't.
And it probably saw that you were somewhat vulnerable
and anxious.
And
it thought it would.
And then you took your hand off the board. It was because something really
bad came through about.
Yeah. And then
I freaked out and was like, yeah. And I was like, I can't do this. And then
you were like crying.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot going on in your personal life at that? I mean, was it? I'm not asking personal, but at that point, did you have a lot going on? Like, was it almost chaotic going on in your personal life? And then maybe that's what attracted it to you?
You were vulnerable, but I feel like your life was fairly stable.
Yeah, it was. It was fairly stable. Then it didn't become unstable after that. I just became very depressed.
Yeah.
So it was like, so no, I think it probably saw that I was a bit anxious, maybe, and targeted that vulnerable.
You were the youngest person there.
Yeah.
Okay, that could be it too.
That's
a factor. And are you familiar with? She's a kind of a well-known psychic medium. She's been on Ghost Adventures like numerous times. Patty Negri.
I do, because I've seen her through Instagram.
Yeah. So she's kind of a well-known, very respected psychic medium. It's been on several of these ghost hunting TV shows on Discovery Plus. Long story short, I thought I had an attachment, but the ghost of a little girl that I encountered at a tavern on a ghost tour I went on. And so this was concerning me. And several months went by, and I had the opportunity to meet Patty Negri. And it's actually in one of my videos. It's the whole story about it from beginning to end. But the short version is that Patty Negri, she's like, and it was just like you said, how it felt like something was on you. She told me, if it was negative, you would feel it. It'd be like something on your neck. You're carrying on like, She goes, it was negative. But she goes, if it's positive, you probably wouldn't. And I go, yeah. And when she described it like that, I thought about it. And I'm like, you see me on camera going, yeah, no, it's nothing like that. And because it was a very positive encounter.
That's really interesting. Because, like, I don't know if you noticed, but when I was describing it as like a dark thing. Yeah. It was like here.
That's exactly how she described it. She goes like this. You can feel it like this, and like you're carrying a heavy thing on your neck. And I was like, that's why when you said it like that, I'm like, that's what Patty Negri said. Wow.
That's really interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you shook it off, that's always good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I was watching your video about the ancient Ram Inn, and then as part of the research, I also watched the old episode of Ghost Adventures where they investigated there. That was like in their second season, so like 15 years ago, whenever that was. So the ancient Ram Inn, that location, they have had so much go on in that site. The site, was it a pagan burial, like a cemetery, and they had like medieval trials there that usually ended in hanging. And all this other, it's just this one spot has centuries of bloodshed in it. And something happened to you, Ellie, if I'm not mistaken, when you two investigated it with your friends.
Yeah.
If you could share that with us. Because from what when we saw it on the video, I saw your reaction. I'm like, I want to ask her about this.
It was
That
terrifying.
reaction is embarrassing.
Embarrassing is good. We love embarrassing.
So what I experienced was we were all upstairs and we were just about to go into a room to do an investigation, and I ended up feeling really dizzy, almost like I was gonna pass out, but then I also started feeling really sick. And then we all went into this room, and I saw something right at the back just walk past, but I thought it was one of the people that was with us. And then when I realised that everyone that was with us was in the room, I was like, I just saw them. And then I freaked out. Understandably. Yeah.
Could you, I mean, was it in your peripheral vision, or did you have a clear view of what it could have been?
It wasn't clear enough that I could describe what they looked like, but it was clear enough to think it was one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, just walking by. And in my head I was thinking, we're all pretty scared right now. Who the heck is just wandering around the back on their own?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you're watching it on the video, it's like you're talking, Emily, with the two guys, and all of a sudden Ellie pops in the screen like, "Oh, no."
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Literally, when I realise that I'm the one in the back, and that there's no one behind, there's literally everyone is in front of me, I was like, oh.
Well, it's interesting because when we were younger, before we were about 10, you used to see auras. And Nan used to use it kind of like a party trick.
Oh, no,
so
yeah.
every time we'd have family over, she would turn the lights off and
she'd
be like,
Ellie, tell everyone's auras. And I'm like, no.
And so the aura would be like a colour around a person. And oftentimes the colour that you see is kind of their personality traits, like how their life's going, their mood, that kind of thing. And you don't see them anymore, but it's interesting because you are kind of more tapped in to that stuff. Like if of all of us that go on these investigations, Ellie is definitely the one who is most likely to see something, like an actual spirit. I would say, personally,
So,
from my opinion of talents, for want of a better word.
So you're almost a ghost magnet.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, swell. Wonderful. I'm a ghost magnet. I'll put that on my resume.
Yeah.
So, and I'm always curious about this when it comes to people in this field, in the paranormal research. Have your views on the afterlife evolved since you've started the ghost hunting, or are you still exploring what it all means?
Exploring what it all means, I think there's, because when the experiences that we had experienced before we had started filming everything, we didn't have it on camera, so we didn't have anything to go back and try and debunk. Obviously there's things that happened that none of us can explain, but we don't, that's just a memory that we've got, and a few mum has and Honor and Honor's our sister, but we don't have that on camera. So now we have things actually on camera that we can go back and try and debunk. I feel like that's made me believe more, but my opinion of what spirits might be has changed.
I've almost resorted to Christianity again. And and I'm not a Christian. I'm not, and nothing against everyone can believe what they believe, but I'm not. And I almost have gone, okay, so we have quite a lot of evidence of entities existing, right? And oftentimes negative. So when we're doing the Estes method and things, you get all of these things come through, often religious, negative, hell, death, torture, that kind of thing. And I'm like, so if there are these negative entities, and we truly believe that these negative entities exist, then is there opposites to that, like balance, like yin and yang? There has to be something, presumably.
Yeah, there's like
darkness, lightness, devil, God. Question mark. But what's happened? So I had this like probably a few months where I was like, oh, am I going to start going to church? Like, is this something I'm going to really like go into? I haven't. And the reason being because since then I've kind of gone, okay, maybe it isn't Christianity as we know it. Maybe it's.
I think it's positive energy and negative energy,
and it's more to do with energy, and it's just a spiritual thing. The only thing that gets me is when hell comes up so much. It's like if hell was such a reoccurring theme,
but then that might be because it's people from the past talking, and
they were religious,
a huge thing, and maybe they did something bad and they thought they were going to hell or something.
There we go. We're creating theories as we're talking.
Yeah.
It's evolving right now in the podcast. I like it. So what is, I mean, I'm watching some of your videos to research for this interview, and I'm taking notes. And as I'm taking notes, I'm also laughing because I don't know if you do your own editing, but the little like close-ups you do with the captions, it's like I'm cracking up as I'm watching your videos. So, so it's not just you have some YouTubers who overact and like, oh my God, there's a noise, we're going to hell, whatever. So your followers, they love your authenticity. So do you often feel pressure, or how do you handle pressure to produce results, when like sometimes the activity just isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Yes. 100%.
Yeah, well, like there's definitely times where life is rough and you're still, but this is something that we want to do and make clear, and we want to try and not let anyone down and not produce the video every week. So sometimes we have to go on an investigation. We're just not in a good headspace. But
and I on those occasions I think we go into it thinking we need to create something that people want to watch, is watchable. So that has to be, entertaining. We've got to bring our kind of most charismatic self. A game, yeah.
I was going to say, bring your A game.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they say A game in England? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I've actually been to England. I was there several years ago. I spent like a week there, had a blast. I need to go back because we didn't have time to go to Stonehenge. I know that's super.
Stonehenge is near us.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Wow. Because I know that's a super touristy thing for an American to say, but it's like I did everything else, but I didn't go to Stonehenge. So the flip side to that question about the pressure, and sometimes the activity isn't there. The flip side to that, have you had an investigation where the activity was just too intense to handle, and how did you navigate that?
30 strikes.
It just happened. It literally just, we went there.
And actually, going back to your question that you asked before, whether or not our opinion has changed. My opinion has changed so much at the 30 drive, where I kind of was in my head and I was like, okay, we've obviously captured evidence, but there's nothing that we've captured that, like, we can debunk most things. You can debunk most things.
Yeah.
But things happened at 30 East Drive that we cannot debunk, and that happened right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And we caught it on camera. So it's like, yeah.
I forgot the initial question.
Yeah, I forgot the initial question.
You can,
yeah.
Have you had an investigation where the activity just was too intense to handle?
30 strikes.
Yeah.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
We almost had to leave.
Like there was a moment where Emily was like freaking out because we just heard a massive bang in the kitchen, and I thought I lost the key, and we were like, you were like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Well, because we had to lock ourselves in to the house. So
you were doing a lockdown.
Yeah,
we locked in, yeah.
yeah, because I think
Okay.
the building's in like a relatively rough area, so I think they get you to kind of lock yourself in because it's a famous house,
Yeah.
and like apparently about 15 people a day turn up to it to like just look at it, you know.
Yeah.
And so I guess they get people who might try and vandalize it, things like
Mhm.
that. So you lock yourself in, and so we just heard this huge bang downstairs, and then we went upstairs, and then I think that's when the door thing happened, and that's why I was in such a frenzy. I don't know, I can't remember the
I can't
timeline
remember
thing,
the timeline, but
but
yeah.
but then we couldn't find the key for about 10
So
minutes.
the door thing happened, and then we went downstairs to debrief. That's when we heard the bang.
Yes.
And then we went upstairs, we caught that bang on camera.
Mhm.
And then later on, when we were doing the investigation upstairs, that's when the door opened again.
Yeah.
But we didn't catch the first door opening on camera.
No. But basically, that house shook us.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah. And things were just moving, like,
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, we would, like, just go to sleep, and my bag got knocked off the side.
Yeah.
Like, and I was just like, what is happening?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's literally crazy.
Yeah. I want
that-
it back so bad. Yeah. But people
I
say
was
that
just
they've
gonna
been and they literally get no
Activity.
so I think it's really like, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times it can depend on the person and how open they are to it, and then how they're conducting themselves. I think, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you and Patty Negri, and I can send you a link to that video of mine where her and I talked about that attachment.
Yeah.
You know, she said the spirits are like, because she's like, I have spirits in my house. She goes, it's like, imagine them going down the street of a residential neighborhood. Okay, they see the lights off in that house. Okay, they're not open to it. Lights on in this one. Oh, they're open to it. So you they kind of go on in, and then in a sense, that's how they see if someone's open to it. You know, and you kind of carry that. So here's a kind of a out of the box question, outside the box. So, of the spirits that you've encountered in your investigations, if you could have one to be a guest on one of your YouTube videos, which one would you choose, and what would you ask?
Yeah.
But was it Joe?
Yes. There was Joe. It was Joe. Emma.
Yeah, but Joe was the one that came through.
Joe came through, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
So Joe is actually a real person,
Yes.
and we're talking about.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Joe Pritchard lived at 30 East Drive when the poltergeist hauntings were really bad in the 60s, I think it was. And apparently, I'm not sure of this, but apparently he died in the toilet. That's what we've been told. And he came through on our Estes method.
Obviously, at this point, we weren't aware because we tried not to do as much
research
as possible, so we were going in blind. And
Right.
Joe came through. We didn't know if he was dead or alive,
Mm-hmm.
and
we found out he was dead.
And his heart came through, and apparently, I don't know. I still haven't.
This is stuff that we've been told. We've been told from like our subscribers.
Yeah. So apparently, he died of a heart attack, and things came through on the Estes method. Joe came through first of all, and then it was a condition, and then heart came through. So things like that came through. So yeah, I think
I would love to know what happened when they were living there.
Yeah.
Like all of the things.
Yeah.
Like really the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
And also get a sense of like what kind of a guy he was.
Yeah.
Like, are you a trustworthy guy? Were you lying?
Yeah.
Is it the Conjuring situation?
Yeah, I don't.
These days, the Conjuring situation isn't the Conjuring situation. I don't know if you've been following that, but that's a
Oh
whole
yeah,
story in
yeah,
itself.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like YouTube is such a unique space for people involved in the paranormal, because you've got the Bigfoot crowd, you've got the UFO crowd, you've got the ghost hunting crowd, and now there's a couple of channels that are kind of like they're the rumor mill. They're like the gossip mongers of everything that's going on in the paranormal community. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, they're getting shut down, or they said this about it's a weird time to be on YouTube, because I find myself watching those channels just to find out what the latest gossip is. I hope that doesn't make me a gossip girl, does it? No?
Nothing wrong.
So, where did that question go? So let's say Netflix wants to turn your paranormal adventures into a TV show. what would the title be, and how would you structure it yourself? What would ideally?
Oh gosh.
Question. Tell you all about that. Cool. 2 ghost guys. Help you with structure. I don't exactly the same. Going blind and wing it. Yeah.
keeping on brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know. I'd never thought about that. But that'll be amazing. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't think of that off the.
Or could it have to stay on brand? Could you?
2 ghosts.
Then would we want to be called 2 ghosts though? Then that's our YouTube brand.
Yeah. Probably.
It'd be easier to find, maybe.
Hmm.
You could call it 2 Ghost Girls, the early days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like. Yeah.
So I've got a couple more questions, and then we can wrap up. So you're giving a TED Talk. The two of you are giving a TED Talk. What about the most misleading thing people think about paranormal? What's the one thing people get wrong about paranormal investigation that you would like to comment on, or just let people know if you had a TED Talk?
Okay.
Anything to find with you?
The pressure is too immense. People.
Ew.
So sorry, that was so rude. I didn't mean to do that. It was distracted.
It was cracking me on it.
Oh god. No, I think something.
Sorry.
Something that I think people should know
Is
I don't know. It's just you're never guaranteed anything. So
I think
Okay.
people often think that if they go into a paranormal place, that they're 100% going to see something or something's going to happen. But majority of the time, nothing happens.
yeah, and also sometimes something that we found is that the spirits sometimes can't communicate or don't know how to communicate necessarily, and we think that's one of the reasons that they don't communicate. And also sometimes they just don't want to, and that's okay. But people expect, like for instance, when we've gone to the Ancient Ram Inn, the second time we went, barely anything happened. And that was a shame, but you can't kind of go in with that expectation.
Yeah, I feel like when we went into the Ancient Ram the second time, we were like fully ramped up. We were like, something's going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
And you're almost talking to the ghost, like, "Come on, guys,
Yeah,
we're here. We drove all the way out here."
Yeah.
We just assumed they didn't like us from the first time.
Yeah. We're not for everyone.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so let's close it out with a couple little more upbeat questions. I know some of these can get kind of deep, some get a little out there to where you're like, So if you had to spend the night alone in one of the most haunted places on Earth, one, where would it be? And you could only bring one item. What would it be? Like one item to like either investigate or bring you comfort.
I want to go to the Clown Motel dressed as a clown. And yeah, just like really dressed as a clown. Like really scary. Yeah.
Like it clown.
Worse than that, yeah. I want to go real gruesome. And then also have like a little clown toy so I can communicate with any.
I feel like that's 2 props. If you have a clown toy and you have like your, I guess that's your outfit.
I'm not sticking to the rules.
Okay.
I'm a rule breaker. No. Yeah. So I really want to go to the Clown Motel. Something about that location really calls to me for some reason.
If I'm going by myself, do I have no fear?
Ooh.
Do you have what?
Do I have no fear if I'm going by myself? Or do I
That's
have...
up to you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's up to me.
Fear?
Do I
No
choose
fear?
if I've got fear, or can I give away my fear?
What? You would give it to me. I know you would.
I've actually,
Oh, what? What was that?
I was going to say, I've actually stayed at the Clown Motel.
Have you?
Yeah.
We need to go
Yeah,
to America. We need to.
Yeah.
We need to go to America. We never been.
How was your experience?
It was interesting how it all came about because I had gone to a Paracon in Lake Arrowhead, Lake Tahoe. I'm sorry, and I was driving back because I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and that was way north from where I lived. So on the way back, I cut through Nevada, and I'm like keeping everybody updated on my social media. And a buddy of mine's like, "Hey, why don't you stay at the Clown Motel?" I'm like, maybe not next time. I was actually passing through Tonopah where this Clown Motel is located. And I'm like, looking at I'm like, I actually have the time. I could probably, So at the last minute, I checked into the Clown Motel. And it was kind of interesting because they have new owners now. They really amped up the whole clown thing. But they had like, I don't know, 600, 700 dolls in that lobby. And the cemetery that's next door to it, I knew it was next door. I didn't realize how close next door, like 6 to 10 feet. It's there. You have graves, everything. It's all maintained, but when you can't really tell at night. But yeah, it's literally right there. You can throw a stick and it lands right there.
Oh.
And about the only thing I'd say that was unusual that happened, because it's a little tiny old motel in a little tiny town in the middle of the desert. But it always got like really good Yelp reviews, like as far as motels go, it's clean, whatever. But I go into the room and there's a couple of kind of eerie clown paintings on the wall. Not so much scary, just kind of like sad looking. I'm like, okay, but I don't have a freer clown. So I'm like, all right, this makes good video. I go to bed and in the middle of the night, it feels like, the best way I can describe it, like a cat was biting my toes through the blankets or like was pulling on my toes. And I didn't have a cat with me. So the Paracon I was just at, one of the speakers, John Zaffis, who's actually the nephew of the Warrens from the Conjuring movie. And he had said in that Paracon, in one of his speeches, he's like, you just talk to the ghost like they're somebody, like they're still alive. If you don't want them around, you just tell them like you would tell a person, hey, leave me alone, get out. And so I shouted out, hey, leave me alone, get out. And I was left alone the rest of the night. So yeah, there is definitely something at the Clown Motel. And now with the new owners, they had like a younger guy. He was given all this money by his parents to buy like $1 million to buy a hotel in Las Vegas, but $1 million won't get you anywhere in Las Vegas. So he found the Clown Motel, put it into that, and now every room is like decorated really differently and weirdly. They have one with Pennywise painted all over it. It's crazy now. But yeah, there's something definitely at the Clown Motel.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Tell it, I'm telling you. It's calling me.
Yeah.
It's always.
We need to go. We need to plan a trip.
It's on my
America.
vision board.
Yeah. It's on
You
mine
should
as well.
go. You should go to Nevada. Okay, if you come to the States, go to Nevada. Go to Las Vegas. Okay, it's a total party city. Zach Bagans has his Haunted Museum there.
Yeah,
And
that's also on my vision board.
Yeah, and the Clown Motel, where it's located, is probably hour and a half, 2 hours from Vegas. Then you have Area 51, which is another couple hours outside of Vegas. So Southern Nevada has everything spooky about America in it, and it's yeah.
Yeah.
So you come to America, you go to Nevada, you let me know, I'll meet you there. I'll give you a grand tour.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yay.
Absolutely. My new friends over the pond.
Yes. That's cool.
So here's my last question, kind of serious. Your ultimate guilty pleasure horror or paranormal movie?
Oh. Guilty pleasure. That's hard.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's gonna be wobbling.
Sorry. You go first. Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. Not really guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure.
Yeah, it's just a pleasure.
Yeah. Paranormal Activity.
The first one?
All of them. I love them. Well, there's like one or two in there that are a bit shit, but like the first, I think it's 3. Bopping.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I love it.
On that
Emily?
budget as well.
I know.
Well done, that.
I know. I just like it because it's like, or like from a handheld camera. They're like, and
Yeah.
you're going around them, and you're on this journey with them. They're like, what's going to happen
And
back
it's
then? What's going to happen? So watch it 10 times. Yeah. So,
and it's very in the moment too.
yeah.
It's like you're right there with them.
Yeah. And even
Emily?
though I've watched it like 10 times, I'm always like,
Yeah.
when is the door going to slam?
Yeah.
Mine would be Scream. And I only saw that the other day. So,
That would be a guilty pleasure.
yeah. So
You're totally guilty on that one.
This will make my friend Aish very happy. She loves Scream, but basically I love that it's got that kind of coming of age vibe, kind of like American Pie kind of vibe.
But with
kind
murder.
of trashy. Pardon?
But with murder in it.
Yeah. But also has then all the really scary elements. I didn't see the twist coming at the end, and the characters are really annoying. Like the frat bro guy, they're really irritating. But it's so entertaining, and I was not expecting it because I'd seen the later Screams first, and I didn't like them. But the original is now on Netflix, and it's really good. Really good.
I remember when it came out, it was unique for its time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap up here, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. I really appreciate it. You were so sweet. I'm so glad I found your channel. I'm like watching your videos. I'm cracking up. Okay, give Toto a hug for me, and let us know what. Okay, so what do you have coming up that we can look forward to, and where can we find you online?
Well,
what do we have?
we kind of every with merch coming up. We
Not jealous at all. I don't have merch yet, but okay.
Yeah.
I noticed the sweaters.
Yeah, this is our samples.
Yeah.
So we're sampling them, and we're both wearing them and then washing them and making sure that they're
good quality.
They're good quality before we pop them out to the public.
Awesome.
Some things to expect from us in the future, albeit they're not planned just yet. Chillingham Castle is one I want to do. Chillingham Castle is one that's definitely up there. We want to go to some really notorious asylums, abandoned asylums.
Just some really cool.
Some really cool locations. In the future, in the new year, we're definitely going to be more organised. And we're going to make sure that our locations are a step above what they are currently. So that's something to look forward to. And also, what was the other question? I lost it.
I'm thinking there was another question. Was there? Oh, where do you find us?
Oh,
on YouTube.
Where can we find you online?
Yeah. On YouTube, we are Two Ghost Girls.
Yeah.
And on Instagram, we are Two Ghost Girls.
Awesome.
And on TikTok,
Awesome.
we're Two Ghost
Oh,
Girls.
yeah.
And for those of you watching on YouTube, I will provide links to their channel and all their social media in the video description below. That way you can follow them. You can go on their adventures with them. It'll be a blast. Trust me.
Yeah. Oh,
Emily.
We welcome you with open arms.
We do.
Absolutely. Again, Emily, Ellie, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been a blast. You're absolutely lovely. We have to do this again, and let me know if you're coming to America. Okay, we can meet in Nevada. Aliens, ghosts, you name it, I can find it for you.
Definitely.
Yes.
That we'll definitely do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And once again, I am Eric Garcia. This has been Beyond the Compass, where travelers and the paranormal meet at the crossroads. Thank you again, and have an amazing day. I think that went well.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the first time we've done a podcast.
Yeah.
I am honored to be the first of many podcasts ahead for you.
Yeah. Thank you.